Hello, everyone. Hope you're doing well today. So we are continuing our conversation in Chapter 4 of Sport History. We're looking primarily at the early 20th century, the 1900s to the 1970s. And this is Part 3. Here we go. So as the 20th century began, physical education in the United States evolved beyond traditional gymnastics and calisthenics, embracing a broader view of movement and its role in personal and social development. This shift reflected changes in societal values, educational philosophy, and public health priorities. Physical education expanded beyond structured exercises like gymnastics and military-style drills. The curriculum increasingly emphasized games, team sports, aquatics, dance, and outdoor activities, making programs more dynamic and engaging. Activities were now designed to develop not just physical fitness, but also social skills, enjoyment, and lifelong participation in physical activity. The extensive physical education programs were introduced at both elementary and secondary schools, while colleges and universities expanded their departments and curricula. Schools began hiring specialist teachers and developing facilities specifically for sport and recreation. Recreation programs flourished during this time as well, often supported by city governments, schools, and nonprofit organizations, providing access to structured leisure for children and families. And intercollegiate athletics had grown rapidly in the late 1800s, were now brought under stricter academic and administrative control in response to concerns about professionalism, commercialization, and student welfare. And intramural sports gained popularity, promoting sports for all rather than just elite athletes. These programs emphasized participation, enjoyment, and school spirit. In 1906, the Playground Association of America was founded to address the need for safe, supervised play areas in urban settings. The movement promoted the idea that structured play and recreation were essential to child development, public health, and social order. By 1930, the organization had evolved into the National Recreation Association, laying the foundation for today's parks and recreation systems across the United States. So this era marked a pivotal transition toward inclusive, diversified, and educationally grounded physical activity programs, many of which still influence modern physical education and community recreation today. Thomas Denison Wood was a visionary in the evolution of American physical education at this period of time. And so he challenged the dominant focus on rigid gymnastics and drills, advocating instead for a more holistic and educationally integrated approach. Wood called for the creation of a new program initially termed natural gymnastics, which would eventually help shape what became known as the new physical education. His philosophy reflected a progressive view of physical education as not merely physical training, but as an essential component of total human development. In his influential writings and speeches, Wood argued the aim of physical education is as broad as education itself. The great thought in physical education is not the education of physical nature, but the relationship of physical training to completed education, and then the effort to make the physical contribute its full share to the life of the individual and environment, training, and culture. So this new physical education emphasized development of the whole person, physically, mentally, emotionally, and socially. It also was a focus on movement as a form of self-expression and growth rather than mere discipline. And it incorporated games, play, outdoor activities, and health education, and was in alignment with the progressive education movement at the time that promoted child-centered learning and development. So Wood's influence shifted the purpose of physical education in the United States from a narrow focus on exercise toward a broader educational mission. His work helped redefine physical education as an integral part of general education, with lasting impact on curricula, teacher training, and educational philosophy well into the 20th century. Robert Tate McKenzie was a pioneering physician physical educator, and renowned artist and sculptor. His unique combination of medical knowledge and artistic skill contributed greatly to the development of physical education as both a science and an art. Mackenzie was particularly influential in creating physical education programs for individuals with disabilities and advocating for inclusive approaches long before such ideas were mainstream. His efforts helped lay the foundation for what would later become adapted physical education and therapeutic exercise. He also authored the influential book Exercise in Education and Medicine, which emphasized the role of exercise not only for general health but also as a vital component of medical treatment and rehabilitation. Now, Clark Hetherington was a leading educator who helped shape the philosophy and objectives of early 20th century physical education. In 1910, he clearly articulated the four major objectives of physical education: the organic development or physical growth and health, psychomotor development for motor skills and coordination, but also character development for moral and social growth, and intellectual development, understanding and cognitive growth. Hetherington is also credited with coining the phrase of new physical education to describe the progressive approach championed by Thomas Denison Wood. This concept highlighted a more holistic and integrated view of physical education as essential to educating the whole child. Rosalind Cassidy was a passionate advocate of the philosophy of education through the physical, emphasizing that physical education should contribute to the development of the whole person. She believed that physical activity was not merely about fitness, but a vital component of a comprehensive education. She was a prolific writer, authoring numerous influential books and articles that shaped physical education curricula and teacher preparation programs throughout the mid-20th century. Her work helped to solidify physical education's role as an academic discipline and a force for holistic student development. Now, Jesse Firing Williams was a strong proponent of the education through the physical philosophy, echoing and expanding upon Cassidy's ideas. He emphasized the role of physical education and athletics in fostering social responsibility, teamwork, and moral values. Williams believed that participation in physical activity should be designed to nurture character development alongside physical health. His contributions helped to reinforce the importance of ethical and social dimensions in physical education programs, advocating for sport and exercise as tools for shaping well-rounded citizens. J.B. Nash was a leading advocate for the role of physical education in promoting lifelong leisure skills. He believed that physical education should empower students to use their leisure time in meaningful and enjoyable ways, emphasizing recreational skills that could provide health, enjoyment, and social engagement throughout life. Nash's philosophy encouraged a broad perspective on physical education, one that went beyond competition and physical conditioning to include recreation, play, and lifetime fitness. His ideas helped shape the development of community recreation programs and adult fitness initiatives. And you can see his pyramid of leisure here on the right-hand side. Now, Charles McCloy was a prominent researcher and educator who contributed significantly to the scientific study of physical education. He was active in anthropometric research and measurement, applying data-driven methods to understand human physical development. And he advocated for the philosophy of the education of the physical, which emphasized the unique contribution of school physical education lies in the development of organic or bodily health and psychomotor movement skill domains. He stressed that physical education plays a vital role in shaping the physical capacities of individuals and complementing intellectual and moral education. He also was a big advocate for weightlifting. So, how about some muscle? During wartime, physical educators played a vital role by contributing their expertise to the armed forces, assisting and training soldiers, promoting physical readiness, and supporting rehabilitation efforts. When the war ended, the public gained access to medical examiner reports from military enlistment screenings. These reports revealed a startling reality. 1/3 of the men examined were found to be physically unfit for military service. This revelation raised serious concerns about the nation's physical health, especially among young adults. It sparked a national conversation about the importance of physical education in schools, not only for personal health, but also for national preparedness. As a result, there was renewed support for formal mandatory physical education programs in public education, seen as a way to build a stronger, healthier citizenry. During this period of the golden 20s, 1920 to 1929, there were growing concerns that emerged regarding the state of college support sports, including professionalism and recruiting abuses, the influence of public entertainment and media, and increased commercialization and pressure to win. These issues sparked calls for reform aiming to preserve the educational mission of college athletics and protecting student athletes. Simultaneously, women's physical education programs expanded significantly, increasing staffing and administrative support, more diverse and inclusive activity offerings, and required participation for female students, improvements in facilities and access to space. So this era marked a turning point in physical education philosophy and practice. The emphasis on holistic development, the reformation of competitive athletics, and the growth of women's opportunities reflected a broader societal shift toward inclusivity, balance, and the educational value of physical activity. Now, during periods of economic hardship, particularly the Great Depression of 1930 to 1939, there were budget cuts that led to significant reductions in physical education programs across schools. In response, physical educators shifted their focus to support recreational programs for the unemployed, contributing to national relief efforts and promoting public well-being through physical activity. Charles McCloy, that we talked about just a moment ago, was a leading voice during this time. He championed the philosophy of education of the physical, emphasizing the development of physical skill, strength, skill, and performance as ends in themselves. He was a strong advocate for using scientific methods, including data collection, testing, and measurement, to evaluate physical education outcomes and guide instruction. Despite the economic challenges, the period also saw significant growth in athletic programs. Interscholastic sports became more structured and widespread at the high school level. Intercollegiate sports expanded in visibility, competition, and organization. And women's athletics began to grow more rapidly, gaining institutional support and recognition. So this era reflects the resilience and adaptability of physical educators who redefine their roles in response to economic pressures, while also advancing the scientific foundation and inclusivity of physical activity programs across education and society. So in the mid 20th century, 1940 to 1970, there was an impact of the Second World War on our physical training programs. The war spurred a nationwide physical fitness movement, leading to the establishment of the President's Council on Fitness, Sports, and Nutrition to promote health and fitness among Americans. Athletics experienced several changes with this. There was increased opportunities for girls and women to participate in sports, and a growing interest in lifetime sports that could be enjoyed throughout adulthood. There were recommendations to expand sport programs below the high school level, and a greater attention given to adaptive physical education to accommodate individuals with disabilities. Now, during the mid 20th century, colleges and universities expanded programs to better prepare physical education teachers, reflecting the growing professionalism of the field. There were key organizations that were established to support this growth, including the National Athletic Trainers Association in 1950 and the American College of Sports Medicine in 1954, both of which advanced research and practice in sports medicine and athletic training. At the same time, programs for individuals with disabilities gained prominence as well, highlighted by the founding of the Special Olympics in 1968, which created new opportunities for people with intellectual disabilities to participate in sports. Additionally, Additionally, research in physical education and related fields became increasingly important and specialized, driving forward scientific understanding and improving educational and training methods. In summary, the early to mid 20th century was a transformative period in physical education. Visionary leaders shaped philosophies, research drove practices, and social events such as wars and economic challenges helped define the role of physical activity in American life. And I look forward to talking with you again. In this next session, we'll be talking more about the recent years from 1970 and to our current time. Have a great day.